Hello. I want to talk about zeros and quadratic expressions. So here is a quadratic expression that's in factored form. So I'll make one up here. This is x plus 7 times x minus 1. Okay. This is an expression, not an equation, because it doesn't have an equal sign. Now, because it's in factored form, it can reveal certain information about the zeros of this quadratic expression. In other words, the values of x that make it equal to 0. So I can turn this expression into an equation for the purposes of finding the zeros. So in order for this expression to equal 0, either this factor needs to equal 0 or this factor needs to equal 0. So I'll write that out. X plus 7 equals 0. Okay, and when I solve for x, I subtract 7 from both sides. I get x equals -7. So that is one of the zeros of this expression. And then x minus 1 equals 0. So you set each factor equal to 0 and then solve for x. It's pretty simple. Add 1 to both sides and you get x equals 1. So these are the zeros. The zeros of the expression are -7, because when you plug in -7 for x here, you get -7 plus 7 is 0. And then it doesn't matter what the other expression is, because 0 times anything is 0. Same thing with 1. When you plug in 1 for x, you get 1 minus 1 is 0. And anything times 0 is 0. So those are the two zeros. So let's try an example. What are the zeros What are the zeros? I'll just write a question mark here. Okay. Oop, forgot my S there. Okay, so what are the zeros here? Well, let me write out an example. So we have 2x squared minus 15x plus 7. Okay, we want to find the zeros of this quadratic expression. And so the way we're going to do it is by factoring. We're going to factor this as a product of two binomials. You should be pretty good at factoring by now. The only way you're going to get 2x squared is to have 2x in one location and x in the other location. And if you look at the 7 here, the last terms either have to be 1 and 7, 1 first and then 7 next, or 7 first and 1 next. So what we're going to have here is, let me erase that real quick. What we're going to have is, okay, so it's going to be x minus 1, and then 2x minus 1, and then x minus 7, okay? And you can check by foiling that you would get 2x squared minus 15x plus 7. Now that product, the product of 2x minus 1 and x minus 7 is going to equal 0 when either one of these factors is equal to 0. And this factor is going to equal 0 when you solve for x. It's going to be the value you get when you solve for x. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides. I'm going to divide both sides by 2. So x equals 1/2 is one of the zeros. X minus 7, this one's going to be easier to do. All we have to do is add 7 to both sides. So x is equal to 7. So the zeros of 2x squared minus 15x plus 7 are 1/2 and 7. That's it.